Hi, this is Wendy Gunn at yourhomeforgod.com. I am the founder of Your Home for God, which is an online coaching brand that helps Christian women build successful godly families, raising godly kids, and achieving God's unique goals for you and your family. And I want to talk to you today about how to raise godly kids and one of the character qualities that you need to raise and train your children in from an early age, and that is respect for elders. You want your kids to, and we've all experienced this, where your children did not show respect. An older person talked to them and they didn't know what to do. They didn't respond correctly. They embarrassed you perhaps, and I just want to encourage you that this is something that you train ahead. You do at home and you practice. It's not something that's going to come naturally for your children, and you need to train them in it. It's important. And so I want to encourage you that you can train your children in how to greet, and it's up to you to a degree how far you go with this. But you can train your children how to respond to an adult when they speak to your child. So first and foremost, when you are out in public or out at church or in the presence of older people, adults, but especially elderly people, train your children to act differently, that they need to not be running around, not be loud and boisterous. They may scare an elderly person, or if the person is using a walker, they may put them off balance and cause them to fall even. So this is important, that they recognize what kind of behavior to practice in the presence of elderly people. And then maybe it's grandparents, aunts, uncles, people at church, people wherever. If an older person, adult, speaks to your child needs to be trained to look that person in the eye. Look at the person speaking to them in the eye. Listen attentively. Answer their questions with a verbal response. So what is likely to happen is the person will say, "Hi, what's your name?" Okay, so they need to be clear and distinct, not yell, but they need to speak up because that person may not be able to understand. So they need to look at the person and have a smile or a pleasant expression on their face. And then they need to answer the question, "What's your name?" Answer the question, "My name is." And then if the person is someone that this child doesn't know, they could reciprocate by saying, "What is your name?" But they could just stand and wait for the next question, continuing to give attentiveness. The character quality of attentiveness is so important. They can continue to give attentiveness and respect to this person. The person is likely to ask several questions. What's the next logical question? How old are you? And they may say, "How old are you?" and use the child's name. And again, with a smile, a friendly face, the child should clearly speak and answer how old they are. If you have a very small child, the child can say 3 or 2 or, and you can encourage them, but practice at home, and then they will know what to do. And then, what are some other questions? Some other questions are, what do you like to do? you can train your children to answer that question politely. You can go through some of the questions that they have been asked before. Do it at home. Do some role playing. Have your children role play with each other. Have your children role play with you. And then just teach them to stay there until the older adult, is done speaking to them. Don't walk away. Don't be looking all over for your friends. Pay attention. And you can even train them as they get older, questions to ask that adult and how to make conversation. If you yourself aren't good at this and meeting new people, I'm going to be doing additional videos to help you to learn. There are ways to feel extremely comfortable meeting new people with a few simple questions that you always ask the first time that you meet somebody. You always ask the second time you meet somebody. There are ways to feel comfortable meeting a new person. And if, for instance, someone comes to your home or someone comes to your church, this is a way to practice hospitality. It's a way to make others feel welcome and at home. And you should be training your children how to do this. But it's a valuable skill to be able to talk to all ages, to be able to have a conversation. And you know what will happen? The adult that has this kind of response from a child thinks very highly of not only that child, but that child's parents and his or her training. That is so rare these days, but it shouldn't be rare. It should, and especially for Christian children, it should be commonplace. It's very easy to prepare your children and to train them at home to do this. So, prepare your child to look the adult in the eye, have a pleasant expression or a smile on their face, to respond to questions put to them with a verbal response, to make sure that verbal response is clear and spoken directly to them and loud enough but not abusively loud. And then to stay where they are and attentive until the adult is done talking to them. So this is a way to train your children in respect. And I want to add one more part to this. For them, if you decide that this is what you want to do, another way to show respect for elders is to call them by their surname. Mrs. Gunn, Mr. Jones. To say, hello, Mr. Jones. How are you today? That is so respectful, and it's so rare in this day and age. And then it shouldn't only be in the South that children and people say, yes, ma'am, no, sir. It should be, shouldn't it, anywhere, because it's respectful. We did not do this with our children, but I kind of regret it. I regret. We did do Mr. and Mrs. My children did not call my friends by their first name. They called them by Mrs. and Mr. and Miss. So it was just a way to show respect for their elders. And if you want to, like I said, take it one step further, you can encourage and teach your children to say, yes, ma'am, no, sir. officer. I recommend that you train your children, take the time at home to train your children. They will learn it, especially from an early age. Train them from an early age in how to show respect for elders, and you will never regret it. This is Wendy Gunn at Your Home for God.